So you should be that one. And then I'm assuming
Okay, we're good. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hartford Board of School Directors. Today is December the 17th, 2025. We are going to be going into executive session, and then we will be coming back out at an undetermined time. When we go into executive sessions this evening, we are going to be just having the board go in first, and then we will invite the rest of you in that are going to be involved. Okay? Is everyone okay with that? All right. Call to order then. Do we have any changes, additions, and do we have an approval of the agenda? I think good. Super. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We're going into executive session. I can't see that clock from here, I'm sorry.
So I've got to pass the motion.
Oh, wait a minute, yeah.
I move to find that the discussion of student academic records, suspension, or discipline falls within the exceptions of 1 V.S.A. Section 313A7, and that premature public disclosure of this information would clearly constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. Do I have
A second.
all those?
All those in favor, thanks. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 I move that the board enter executive session pursuant to 1 V.S.A. Section 313A7. I further move that legal counsel, the superintendent, administrators, and other individuals will be asked to enter and exit the executive session at different times based on the subject matter under discussion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 We can enter executive session at 5:03.
You know, we could use this for Halloween. Wouldn't that just be some spooky noises? That would be good. Okay, we came out of executive session at 7:08, and so we would like to get started back. For you people that have been very patient, we appreciate it. We do need to, we're going to make a little bit of a change. Jacob, do you want to tell the change, or you want me to?
Sure. So being that Jonathan's been waiting, we're going to move Jonathan's presentation up ahead of the budget. So we'll have Julia first and then Jonathan.
I move that we change the agenda to accommodate that.
A second.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there action in executive session or
Oh,
not?
sorry.
No action.
No action.
Thank you,
Sorry. Keep me on my toes down there,
thank you.
because I've only got one foot that has toes. Yes. And I need to call a vote for the change of the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Julie, welcome. And thank you for waiting for so long.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julia Lau. I'm the Hartford School District's Equity Coordinator. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to the board and to the community today. As many of you already know, a fellow Vermont school district, Winooski, has been targeted recently for speaking up and supporting their students. Over the Thanksgiving break, a Winooski 7-year-old second grader and his mom were detained by ICE and sent to a detention facility in Texas. Winooski Superintendent Wilmer Chavaria and the community responded immediately and are trying to get legal representation for this family. In the beginning of December, the Winooski School District raised a Somali flag to show support for its Somali community in response to President Donald Trump's calling Somalis garbage during a cabinet meeting. 9% of students in Winooski are Somali. This action caused a backlash of racist and violent messages, which forced the school district to take down its website and disconnect many of its office phones. In Hartford, our anti-racism policy says we must commit to a collective responsibility to address, eliminate, and prevent actions, decisions, and outcomes that result from and perpetuate racism. Our vision of a graduate clearly states that our graduates will understand their role in society, engage in civic duties, and respect diverse communities. A strong sense of social responsibility, including appreciating diversity and contributing to the public good, is essential. And what we ask of our students, we must model ourselves. It is our civic responsibility to speak up when we see injustice. Being attacked and threatened feels bad, but feeling alone feels worse. We propose that by signing this letter of support for Winooski, we can let them know that we see them, support them, and that they are not alone. Would you like me to read the letter?
Would you please?
The letter states, "We, the undersigned Vermont school districts, write to express our strong support and solidarity with the Winooski School District following the detention of a second-grade student and his mother by federal immigration authorities. The Winooski School District and Superintendent Wilmer Chavaria rapid, compassionate response, mobilizing community resources, legal assistance, and financial aid, demonstrates a remarkable commitment to student safety, dignity, and well-being. We also commend Winooski for standing firm in the face of hateful backlash, most recently after raising a Somali flag on public school grounds to show support for Somali students and families. In doing so, Winooski upheld the values that guide public education in Vermont: protection of students' welfare and sense of belonging. By raising the Somali flag, Winooski visibly affirmed that Somali students and residents are welcome, valued, and a part of the school community, even when that act provoked fear and intimidation. Defense of inclusive and equitable education. The district's willingness to stand with its immigrant families and refugees demonstrates leadership in ensuring that no student's sense of dignity or safety is eroded by external hostility. And commitment to moral courage and community solidarity. Choosing to stand against racism and xenophobia, even at the risk of backlash, exemplifies the deeply held principle that schools are places of refuge, support, and unconditional care. We believe Winooski's actions send a powerful message that public schools have a duty not only to educate, but to protect and uplift every child, regardless of background, ancestry, or nationality. Especially in times of political and social tension, such leadership is essential. Therefore, we pledge our solidarity with the Winooski School District. We stand ready to collaborate on statewide support efforts to amplify the message of inclusion and to advocate for the safety, dignity, and education of all of Vermont students. We further urge all responsible authorities at local, state, and federal levels to prioritize the safe and swift reunification of separated families and to acknowledge the severe emotional and educational consequences that immigration enforcement actions impose on children and communities. Vermont's educational community stands firmly with the Winooski School District, unified in purpose and unwavering in our commitment to protect every child's right to learn, grow, and thrive. By signing this letter, we may also experience some backlash and become targets of hate ourselves. We must remember that there is no neutral. If we do not speak up, we are complicit in the actions that perpetuate harm and hate. The Vermont AOE has already sent out their support for the Winooski School District, reaffirming its commitment to prioritizing inclusion for all who call Vermont home, including new Americans, immigrants, and refugees. We hope this Hartford School Board will do so as well. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, Julia, can you go over with us what you would like for us to do regarding this letter?
First, I would like the board to sign on to the letter, and then we would then disseminate it to other schools, school boards as well throughout Vermont to get hopefully a group of folks who would also support, and just to send that directly to Winooski, also then to publicly put on social media and other media outlets so that people know that there is support for them.
Okay, have you personally, maybe not personally, but have you, in a group of people that you work with, have you talked with some of the other school districts?
So the Vermont, there's a Vermont Equity Educators group that is also working on developing these things. And so there's actually a group of them who are going to, I believe it's tonight's school board meeting in Winooski, to show their support that way. And so there are folks who are interested in helping out with this.
Good. And just FYI, V.S.A has also put out a letter supporting the people in Winooski also. Does the board have any questions or any comments on this?
Concerns only from the backlash, but I agree with the initiative.
Okay.
Thank you for pulling this together, and I think it's important that we stand in solidarity with our other schools across the state.
Caty, did you want to speak about this at all? Or give your...
I would just say that I'm just really grateful to Julia for working on this letter and for meeting with other equity leaders in the state. And that, you know, this is a district that, I mean, I think it is fair to say that when a public school district is, you know, in the midst of a situation like this, it can often feel like they're really isolated and kind of hung out on a limb, which I believe is the intention of this, is not, you know, just that the Hartford School District could potentially sign on in support, but that a multitude of districts would show their solidarity and support of this district.
And Julia, just one more question from me. If the board signs the letter, says yes, does it go back to you? And then do you and your other group go to send it to other school districts? How's that going to be handled?
I can do it that way if that makes
To
most sense
ask-
to the board. I think that's up to the board to decide. If you'd like me to take that on, I'm happy to do that. I have folks who are willing to help me with that. If the board wants to do it through the V.S.A or whatever makes the most sense, I'm happy to work with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, Julia, you've also talked to other equity leaders and have been clear about, you know, as Jeremy, you mentioned, the potential risk, which is real.
We have to be very aware of that, but I also think that it's extremely important for us to support the folks in Winooski and what they've already been through and what could just as easily been happening here.
Absolutely, and I think part of it also is that when we take the focus off of them a little bit and it's on all of us, that impact is a lot smaller on each of us instead of on just one.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. Anything else from the board on this? And does anyone want to make a motion for us to sign this and show our support?
I think for distribution purposes, we probably want to send it to the V.S.A initially and then give you a copy as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They will be willing to do that too. Yes, absolutely. So is that a motion?
No, not yet. I was going
Okay.
to look at Caty. Didn't ask if you had any other concerns?
No,
or-
I don't.
Okay. Want to make a motion?
Go.
I move that the Hartford School District Board of Directors sign the letter of formal support for the school board and for the Winooski School District, and provide that to the V.S.A. and disperse it amongst the district as well.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Oh,
Thank you so much. Really appreciate
so
this board
welcome.
and your support of,
and can I get with you tomorrow?
Yes.
We can get this done before
before we go on
break time?
Perfect. That's great. Thank you, Nancy.
You got it. Thank you. Jonathan?
Thank you, Jacob, for acknowledging my sleepy state. So asked to give update on PCBs and the bond. I'll start with PCBs. There's a lot to cover, so I'll hit the high spots. The ECA process is underway. We got that contract in place. There's a lot of back-end work. Fuss & O'Neill will be on site in the next 2 weeks with a couple of different contractors to start putting their cost estimates together. And those cost estimates will include all of the options that the state is requiring, as well as the removal of source contaminants that you all have asked to be included in that. The hope is, as of the conversation I had with Fuss & O'Neill this week, to have an initial draft of that within 60 days for review. At that point, as I've said over and over, is when you folks are really going to need to weigh in heavy. Concurrent with that work is a couple other work plans one was approved today, and one I'm likely to see for approval tomorrow. The one tomorrow is for the maintenance of the air purifying units that they put in 18 months ago. They've had no maintenance or monitoring since. The DEC has asked for a work plan from Fuss & O'Neill to replace all the filters and maintain them and begin monitoring them, to see if they can support their use as a remediation measure in the schools, which is what it is. We will find out what the efficacy of those units is. I did, full disclosure, I pushed back with some vigor to insist that they only include in that work plan measures that they would either pay for initially or guarantee to Jacob that they would reimburse for. So they dropped off some of the stuff they were going to do that they couldn't really support. Basically, I didn't want them to speculate on your dime. So the work plan has changed a couple times, and we'll see that tomorrow, and we'll get that moving. The more pressing one is, as you know, they gave us a deadline of the end of December to get in place our quarterly air monitoring program. Again, initially it was supposed to be for 1 quarter, and we had asked to have a contract for 4 quarters for a couple reasons. One is to stabilize the scheduling, because the scheduling has bounced around a whole lot. We did get, and that is, I just forwarded to some of you this afternoon, that 1 year, 25, 26 monitoring. So we have that contract in place, and we're going to do that next Monday and get in right under the deadline. No time to spare. We'll be there on the 22nd. A couple interesting points on that. As we have discussed at length, there is at least an anecdotal connection between air temperature, humidity, all that. So we have, for a number of reasons, our scheduling has been delayed, so that our schedule now has us not sampling in July and August, which is interesting. That is just simply true. The other important point there is the annual number, which I wanted to be able to explain to you right now. This year is going to be just over $100,000 for that quarterly sampling program.
I'm sorry, how much?
Just over $100,000
$100,000.
for that program, and we should be reimbursed for that. theoretically. But another point I just want to put out there is the costs for this service. I know I've said before, and I'm sorry I repeat myself, is, you know, it's never going to be less expensive than it is tomorrow. Because of when we are looking at this services, we had the opportunity to look at a proposal for work that the ECA work that they signed in for that last fiscal year, and this testing work for what will be next year, essentially. The hourly rate of our contractor went from $165 to $205 an hour, their annual increase, and that tracks. Their annual increases in this market, in this world we live in around, has been between 15 and 25% a year. The reason I say that is, as long as we have PCBs in the building, we're on the hook for quarterly sampling. So $100,000 this year, you know, there's no force stronger than compound interest if you start looking at 20% a year. So I just want, you know, we're through the initial push. We have a contract in place, we're getting it done, we're under the deadline, we're meeting regulatory compliance, but there's an ongoing cost that should be considered. So that's the ECA, the APU situation, the IAQ. The other thing worth mentioning is a couple other districts, and I have been asked this question by some employees about, are there OSHA regulations related to PCBs, and there are. North Country's going through this right now. So, you know, and none of this stuff do we have any control over it. So it's regulated activities, right? So it is likely, because this is happening in other districts, that we'll be asked to look at the exposure of our staff, and that's a reasonable question, just as it is with any, you know, occupational hazard. That's a real, and when we go down that route, what is interesting about that is that will be on a separate schedule from their quarterly sampling. So we might end up sampling in July anyway. And because that's when our people are working in the schools, in the heat, cleaning, and OSHA looks for the highest hazard. The DEC has some flexibility about when they test. So it's just, we're gonna get all this information, and the challenge for you all is gonna be how to collate that into a plan. So that's PCBs, or that's like the high points of PCBs. Skipping to the bond, we have accomplished a lot last summer, not as much as I would have liked, just because of resource availabilities and scheduling. As you know, we got through some roofing and drainage at HACTC. One thing that has happened recently that I haven't had a chance to share is we did do our underground storage tank inspections at Dothan Brook and HACTC, and I cannot tell you how happy I am that they came back fine. So that takes some pressure off those projects. That, you know, they're as old as the buildings, and they're fine. That doesn't mean we're off the hook forever. It just means we don't need to make big decisions about boilers at those two schools right now.
Good.
So that's good news. We are proceeding with door replacements. We have a great product. We had a little issue with a installer, but I think we've kind of pivoted away from that. The middle school elevator and chimney are both, the elevator is contracted. We're just waiting on parts. That's it. That's all. You know, what 3 years ago would have been 4 months is now 14. The big projects for next summer that we've done all the specifications for and are going out to bid now, I know it seems early, but this is the time to do it, are the chimney, finishing the roof at OQS, the roof at DBS, and paving at all 3 elementary schools. And those are big projects and big numbers. In order to stay as far ahead of this as possible in developing specifications, even though this isn't work that we would do next summer, it'd be the following year, we're getting specifications on window replacements for the HACTC and Dothan Brook too. The idea being, the reason for that sequencing is, I don't want to do windows before roofs for obvious reasons. Just don't want to. And if we are not addressing boiler upgrades and controls upgrades, the next best bang for the buck is the building envelope. And we can't, and windows and doors, we're doing doors now, windows are the next step. If with those are in place, whatever ventilation issues we choose to address in the next, the next phase of work will make a whole lot more sense because our building envelopes will be up to snuff. So there's a method to the madness, but the method is maddening. And, some of the big drivers here really are the cost inflation is extraordinary. And, I've never seen anything like it in many, many years in this business. The cost of buying what we buy is increasing I can't track it. It's not making a whole lot of sense to anybody. And then the other piece is just the challenge of getting a commitment of contracted resources. The reason we missed being able to do everything we want to do last summer was not because we didn't have the money, not because we didn't have the plan. We just simply could not get a commitment that we needed from the contractors to get it done in the sequencing that we needed. That's why we're starting now. We actually started a month ago putting these projects out to bid so that we can, the operating principle is that we can make a commitment to a contractor early enough in the year that they can dedicate the resources that we need in August. So in order to get that commitment 8 months out, we need to do it now. So that's all. So any questions about the PCB thing or where we're at with the bond?
Do you have one question about this morning? I'm good with those three issues or items, but could you just kind of just touch on what happened this morning at the
No idea what you're talking about.
fire? We had a fire at the middle school.
So I will try.
I will describe the events.
No, that's okay. So at about 4:40 this morning, we had a fire alarm activation at the middle school. The fire department was all over it. They were there within 10 minutes. It was, the source was an electrical fire in the elevator lobby on the second floor of the middle school. It was a lighting circuit that just simply overheated. Every system worked as it should. The new fire alarm system we put in a hurry a couple years ago did exactly what it should do. The electrical system, the breaker tripped, it isolated the circuit. Unfortunately, it didn't isolate it before it melted the cover on the light. So when I got there, whenever I got there, what we walked into was the first floor was fine. The second floor was, they had cleared most of the smoke, but we had the molten, semi-inflamed cover of the light had fallen onto the VC floor, and it was just nasty. The concern at 6 o'clock this morning, or whenever it was, from the fire marshal and the chief was, okay, we have this retrofit bulb in an old, all these things. Where else do we have this in the building? And so the conversation was, can we guarantee that this is not a domino thing? And we couldn't. So the chief made the call because we couldn't definitely say this was the problem at 6 in the morning. He said, we're not having school today. So we immediately moved to, what do you have to do? Well, first I said, can we use the gym? Can we, there's a 20 minutes of weaseling, and that didn't work. So we got the alarm company in there, and again, I cannot say enough about the response. The fire department was amazing. Like, they called me at 10 minutes of 5. We were texting back and forth and talking the whole way in. We were all on site, by 5:45 and making plans. Alarmco, our alarm contractor, the owner returned my call at 5:15 and woke somebody up and got him rolling. They were there by 6:30. Richard Electric, Tim Martin, their manager, took my call at 5:20, which I really appreciate. And they had people there by 7:30. So what the fire marshal and chief said is, we want the fire alarm, we want that detector that was damaged, isolated, and we want the system tested and functional, the fire alarm system. And we had that done by 9. So right now the fire alarm system is fully functional. It's showing one trouble, which is the one smoke detector that melted. That's reasonable, and they're fine with it. We had their concern about the other fixtures in the building that were the same components. We had 4 electricians in there from 7:30 to about 4:30, and we checked every single light fixture in the building, and we're good. At the same time, they were directed to address in real time any identified hazards even if it wasn't related to the issue. You know, if you see a broken outlet, fix it. Just, again, an abundance of caution. Somewhere in there, talking with V.S.A, we mobilized an environmental contractor who came up. They isolated with poly and a zipper and all that, the second floor elevator lobby, because it's an investigation scene, so we couldn't clean it. So we isolated it. We shut the elevator down. It's still down, but we have no one in the building with mobility issues. We have one employee on the first floor, but all of her work is on the first floor. So the elevator is functional, but it's shut down, so nobody can access that second floor lobby by accident, basically. The environmental contractor did a very minimal cleanup. There was almost no damage to the building. It was all in that lobby. It was all the floor. But we had them do, again, abundance of caution. They did a swab on the walls to make sure we didn't have nasty stuff, and they cleaned between the two fire doors outside. The fire doors closed and contained the smoke. So they wiped down all the walls in there. And we ran our big fans all day long and ventilated the building. We opened the roof hatch and did everything we could. And they installed, the environmental contractor installed 2 HEPA air filter circulation units in that space, and they're going to run overnight. They'll be back at 6:30 tomorrow morning to pull them out. The guys will put the doors back to the magnets, and at whatever it was, 2 o'clock this afternoon, they said we were good to go for tomorrow morning. And I'm going to mention this because one of the things that came up is, you know, we have fire safety inspections every year, and it's a struggle. Not because anybody is remiss, it's just because people are human and classrooms are homes. But one of the things that the fire marshal said to me at whatever it was, 6 o'clock this morning is, this molten light fell into an elevator lobby. It didn't fall onto a couch.
Right.
So let's have that conversation. And I said, can we have that conversation after the holidays? And he said, yes. But those are conversations we need to have. And I said to Caty this morning, when these things happen, the 2 things that always invariably come up in my mind after the initial, not panic. Again, it wasn't an emergency. It was a series of problems. Everybody was safe. It was not an emergency. It never became an emergency. Once the fire department trucks were there, the emergency was over. Everybody was safe. The building was secure. But it was a series of problems. So, driving home tonight, the thought was, I'm extraordinarily grateful for the response. The fire department was amazing. Alarmco was amazing. Richard Electric, our people. I called Jeff Hall at 6 o'clock in the morning, the minute he walked in the door, and said, I'm going to change your day. And he said, I'll be right there. Mitch and Gary, everybody was great. V.S.A was great. So I'm grateful for that. And the next thing is, what did we learn? And what we learned is we still have a lot of little deferred issues, not bond issues, just the stuff we can't keep up with day to day. And we have some liabilities, that couch that it could have fallen on that we can absolutely address. So that's all. It was today.
Just such a nice calm day, wasn't it?
Yeah, I commend everybody's response
Yes.
and how everybody handled it. It was impressive to get the all clear that fast and that response from all the
Yeah.
community. So.
And we have, if there are issues, it did smell pretty nasty.
Sure it
The
did.
fire department cleared it for safety, but I am sensitive to the fact that we have a population with differing sensitivities. So I have an environmental contractor, jogging in the morning. If we get a legitimate concern, if Cody calls me at 7:30 and says somebody's having a reaction, we'll bring them in and they'll do air samples and they'll do all that. Nobody saw any need, the fire department saw any need to do that today. They were all comfortable. But we have that available if there's a specific need.
Good to know. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Sure. All right.
All right, Jacob, want to talk about the budget?
Sure.
Yay.
So Caty and I put together a little presentation that'll just kind of give you some history, context, and basically where we're at.
Thank you, Zach. So what we wanted to do is to put some of the news that you might be reading and reviewing into some context for you. So Zach, you can advance to the next slide. So what has been in the news lately has been all about another tax increase. And the numbers that have stood out throughout these different publications are 12 and 40. That on average, the taxes in the state have risen by 12%, and that they will raise by 12% this coming year, and that in the last 5 years alone, taxes have raised by over 40%. So you might have seen those two numbers prominently placed in a number of different publications, VT Digger, 7 Days, Vermont Public, for example. And I've cited those for you here. There you go. So the first question that we wanted to put into context and perspective is, are taxes going to rise for our taxpayers here in Hartford by 12% this year? So the short answer on that is no. But I'm going to let Jacob talk about why and what this number is looking like for the Hartford taxpayer.
Sure. So presently, I always like to preface everything with this is a snapshot in time of the information that we have. And based on the current numbers and information that we have, we're looking at a 9% increase in the homestead tax rate for FY27. Obviously, we're waiting on the final CLA that we'll get at the end of the month. And of course, the yields are in a state of flux, and we're also waiting on our final equalized pupil number, which is currently on version 8.
And one of the notes that we wanted to make, just on that last slide, Zach, is that those numbers that are being published are averages. And that is important to recognize because those numbers can vary quite significantly across districts. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what the trend has looked like in this district. And that will have to do in the next slide. But there also was, as additionally in thinking about that 12% number, one of the things that I know that the state legislature was hesitant about last year in terms of the buyback that was put forward by the governor to allow for some tax relief was basically going to be shifted in terms of burden to this year. So about half of that 12% number accounts for that buyback, which was about $118 million, with $77 million coming from the general fund and $41 million coming from the ed fund. So that's a part of that 12% number as well. So the next number that has been prominent in these publications have been 40%. So on average, taxes have risen by 40% over the last 5 years. And we wanted to put that again into context and perspective for the Hartford taxpayers. So the short answer to the question of whether or not taxes in the Hartford School District have, or in the Hartford region have increased by 40% in the last 5 years is no. So again, just reminding everyone that those reports are averages and again, vary significantly by district. And then I'm gonna let Jacob talk not only about what that has looked like in the Hartford School District over the course of the last 5 years, and also what has driven, some of the increases that we have seen.
Thank you, Katie. So in the last 5 completed fiscal years, we've seen a 23% homestead property tax rate increase. And our 2 highest percent increases came in FY24 and FY25, when we saw significant decreases in our CLA. Next slide, please. So this is just a chart of our CLA over the years. It's been pretty consistent, and then, we start seeing that 23, 24, 25, we start seeing that drop in the CLA. And obviously with, the housing industry post-COVID where house values were undervalued because everybody decided that they wanted to move out of the city, and all of a sudden a $200,000 house was going for $400,000. It's screwed with the numbers, and of course, the state of Vermont couldn't keep up with those reappraisals, so it made things a little bit difficult. But generally, our CLA has been pretty consistent over the years. And then, of course, FY26 was the first year that the state has their state-adjusted CLA because obviously, not everyone has been able to keep up with getting the reappraisals done, so that's kind of the Band-Aid from the state to try and fix that and get everyone's CLA after the statewide adjustment up a little bit because, as we saw in one of our fiscal years, trying to pass a budget with a 66% CLA was very difficult. So some of the factors that impacted our budget, obviously the rise in healthcare premiums, which is average for this year when we're looking at all the plans, is about 7.1% this year. Thankfully, we're getting a little bit of a break, and basically with V.A, who's our health insurance provider via Blue Cross Blue Shield, this provides some relief to school districts, but also starts to build back some of the reserves that they've used to kind of keep things manageable, if healthcare costs can be manageable. And basically, there's been a 55.8% average increase over the last 5 years, so healthcare continues to be pretty big in our budgets. Obviously, cost of living, salary increases for all staff when we're looking at all of the unions and everyone that encompasses. So that's basically been an average of 15% over the last 3 years. Obviously, the CLA has had an impact when our CLA dropped. Tax rates went up, and thankfully now are reappraised, and our CLA is back at a good number. And of course, FY26 again was the first year of that statewide adjusted CLA. It kind of artificially inflates things when our CLA is, above the 100%, because keep in mind, reappraisals for CLA below 85% triggers reappraisal, above 115% triggers reappraisal. So when you're playing with, 142%, you go, what are we doing here? So it's a little bit artificially inflated. And then, of course, another thing that impacts our budget is obviously the yield numbers, which are set by the legislature. The tax commissioners kind of kicks things off with their December 1 letter, which is kind of like draft of the yields, and obviously the legislature has the final say over those yields, and that'll be part of the work that they do. So obviously, we have the homestead property yield, the income yield, and then the non-homestead property tax rate. And then, of course, the long-term weighted average, which is just fancy speak for how we count our students. The student population number has an impact on our budget. Again, we're on version 8 because we can't seem to count less than 80,000 kids in Vermont. So this was just a nice little chart that I basically took of all the increases from V.A by plan over the years, which was, when you put it all together, it's a pretty substantial increase. I mean, obviously, the Gold CDHP is the highest utilized plan, and just over the last 5 years, we've seen a 55.8% increase there. So what's the reality in HSD? What can our taxpayers expect this year? Again, presently, we're looking at 9%, so based on the current data that we have from the state, we're looking at $1.37 for the actual tax rate, estimated, obviously subject to change because we're still waiting on several numbers to come in. Obviously being the CLA, because decimals matter, They sent us a nice rounded CLA, and we don't like it because we want it to be as high as it can be. So obviously, when we look at FY26, again, with the buy down and just the way our CLA flew from 66.31% to 142.92, that really screwed with the numbers, and we ended up, 39% down, which obviously, when you're down that much, that's going to be a steep increase. But presently, we're looking at about 9%. And then, of course, some of the challenges, obviously, we're currently on version 8 of the long-term weighted average. We just received the CTE, which is the Career Tech Ed 6-semester average, because the tech centers, the way that the Vermont tuition works, it's based on a 6-semester average. So I'm working on those numbers and building that into our budget, because obviously we send kids there where Hartford's going to be on the hook for our portion of the tuition. But again, something just I want to bring up is FY25 was the first year that the long-term weighted average went into effect. Previously, we were on the equalized pupil, and when we made the change to the long-term weighted average, we changed the weights in the groups. So how we measure kids changed, which changed our numbers, and it's gotten a little bit messy over the years. I mean, this is my 7th year doing this, and every year it becomes a little bit harder to explain. Are there any questions from the board?
No.
Thank you, and I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Jacob. We appreciate that. Where are we? To the calendar. Katie, would you like to?
I would love to. So you will see the calendar in the packet. Zach, if you wouldn't mind bringing that up out of the folder for those who are online, that would be great. So first, just to orient you a little bit, the blocks of blue are in-service days. You'll see in orange the first day of school and the last day of school. And then you'll see in reddish, I don't know, mauve, you'll see the breaks, or days that we're not in session. So a couple of changes from the last draft that I brought to you. And one of the things that we're hoping for tonight, unless you see anything glaring or you have more questions for us to explore in getting more vetting or information from different stakeholders, is we are hoping that this looks like a calendar that you can approve. So I'll put that out as your problem of practice as you're looking at this. One thing that you'll note that we brought to your attention the last time this was presented to you with Erica Schneider here is that often there are a number of factors that drive our calendar that are out of our control. One of the things that we discussed with you last time was that we're hoping that as a Southeast region at minimum, we can establish some consistency across our calendars. This has also been a push just among superintendents in general to have more of a statewide calendar. So when we last brought this calendar to you, we were batting around the idea of starting maybe on the 31st as a way to compromise among districts who were starting both on the 26th and on September 2nd, and we were thinking that because of our CTE, we could maybe meet them in the middle. Since then, as we noted last time, there was an absolute sea change, and everyone started to say, no, we can all start on the 26th. So this draft version that you're seeing today starts school on August 26th. We've got our in-service days, primarily the week prior, and then the same week that our first day of school begins. We also did take out, you might have noticed last time that we had a day off on Friday, September 4th, with the intention of trying to kind of like stagger the weeks, the start weeks, so that this was to apply feedback that we've received in the past, that it's nice to start in a staggered way so that especially our younger students are not exhausted. But we did end up taking that out because it looked like we'd be able to start with a 3-day week, and then we'd have a 5-day week, and then we'd have a 4-day week. And that seemed to make sense, so that we weren't taking an additional day at the start of September when we had the Labor Day holiday approaching. You will also see that we debated a little bit the idea of perhaps being in session for Veterans Day, and upon reflection decided to keep that as a day of closure. So this really kind of mimics in many ways the calendar from this current school year, in that also we are keeping 2 days in the Thanksgiving week and maintaining the 3-day recess there, and maintaining the 2-week holiday break. And again, some of those things were based on the various stakeholder feedback that we received between now and the last time we presented this draft to you. And then I'm trying to think if there are any other things that differed from last time, and I don't believe there are. So you'll see that this very much from after the holiday recess on follows the calendar from this year in many, many ways. So yeah, I will open it up for any questions that you may have about this draft. Aaron, would you have anything to add? Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
No, I think you got it all. Thank you.
No questions here? Kathy?
No, looks good to me.
Yep, here as well.
No questions from me?
So is there a motion to adopt?
Do we have a motion to adopt?
I move that we adopt the calendar as is.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's adopted. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Jacob, we're going to come back to you and talk about the manifest approval.
So
Alternate.
one of the things that I've been thinking about, because I'm a planner and I like to have backup plans for everything, would just be my ask for the board would be to maybe nominate or have in place an alternate for manifest approval. And just for those that may be listening or tuning in, under our procedures, a member of the board reviews our payroll manifest and the accounts payable manifest, and then basically authorizes the release of those checks.
We just have one person now, is it? And because we're looking at succession planning and to make sure that if for some reason this person isn't able to be available to sign the checks, that we really need to have a second person that is able to do that. So does either does either Jeremy or Kathy have any thoughts or any suggestions?
A selfish one. Only
sure.
Because I know where you are all the time. Who is our current manifest?
Kevin.
Kevin, okay. I am certainly close enough so that I can make it as well. I'm only a few miles, well, less than, I'm close.
Yes, you are.
So,
And you're back and forth with your children.
yeah, I guess my director of finance would tell me if something's out of the normal anyways.
Are you volunteering yourself to be backup? Is that what you're doing?
I really don't want to, but if between me and you probably would be my guess just because of the close proximity, but you're not that far either. Where, you want to draw straws?
Yeah, you're both down the road here.
Rock, paper, scissors here? I support definitely an alternate,
An alternate is reasonable.
yes.
For,
But we
That
just
should
really
be in
just
place.
need one alternate.
so then it
Okay.
comes down to
So,
who is the alternate.
My preference would be you because you're always here, but I can certainly be a third alternate. Only because, are you in the soup's office that often? But if you don't have the bandwidth, I certainly can do it.
I would like to nominate
Go ahead.
Jeremy as our alternate for signing for the manifest approvals.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. It's not like you're going to have to spend all day in the office.
Be a nice break.
We appreciate it.
No,
we do.
Totally accept.
We absolutely appreciate that. Policy work.
That's me.
That's you again.
All right, during this session, we're going to approve policy B5, employee unlawful harassment, which was warned on the 3rd. And we're also going to, this serves as the formal warning of B7, tobacco prohibition. I move that we approve B5 as it was warned on December 3rd.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
And then we're going to move on to, is it in this packet? Yep, it is. Excellent. I didn't put the title on there, though, so I will do that. This was for V.S.A 3, which is the superintendent. Let me get it from here. Yes, the accountability of the superintendent, presented by me. And this was, the monitoring method is by direct inspection. The policy statement, I'll read the policy. The superintendent is the board's only link to operational achievement and conduct, so that all authority and accountability of staff, as far as the board is concerned, is considered the authority and accountability of the superintendent. Accordingly, 1, the board will never give instructions to persons who report directly or indirectly to the superintendent. 2, the board will not evaluate, either formally or informally, any staff other than the superintendent. 3, the board will view superintendent performance as identical to organizational performance, so that organizational accomplishment of board stated ends and avoidance of board prescribed means will be viewed as successful superintendent performance. My interpretation of the policy is that only the superintendent is responsible for the operations, performance, and the directing of staff. The board does not formally or informally direct, supervise, or discipline staff. The superintendent performance is based on the successful performance of the district. And I find that we are in compliance to those 4 items that I have just read. And the evidence is based off of board meetings and agendas and the superintendent performance evaluation. And no exceptions were identified at the time, but next steps and continuous improvement would be that all parties should monitor performance regularly using supporting data. The board should evaluate superintendent performance regularly. Board and superintendent should continue to improve policies, and that the board and superintendent maintain role discipline.
Thank you very much. And now it's time for public comment. The board welcomes public comments. In order to accommodate as many community members' voices as possible, anyone making a comment will be given 2 minutes to speak. This is not a time for discussion, but the board is interested in hearing comments, concerns, and suggestions from the public. Do we have any public comments tonight?
I would like to speak, please.
Please.
Sherry Torrey. I am a Hartford High School alumni. I graduated in 1976. That was 50 years ago. I've been working with the Alumni Association. We are holding the Alumni Parade in conjunction with the nation's 250th anniversary on Saturday, June 27th. The parade will start at 10:30. Our group has asked the Select Board for an article on the ballot for use of lot funds supporting parade activities. The 250th Anniversary Committee also had a budget for some of their work, but this is in addition to that. We will be asking the school district for hopefully posting our information on the school district sign. We're inviting alumni classes, school organizations, community groups, and businesses to participate in the parade, and we're hoping that it'll be a very enjoyable event for all. So people that went to Hartford High, it doesn't even have to be your 5th year anniversary. You could have a float, or you could walk and do whatever you want in the parade. But there'll be a big barbecue picnic on the townhouse lawn after the parade, and it should be a fun day. So, thank you.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds like lots of fun.
I think that makes it my 30th.
Yes, because we're 20 years apart. So I'll put your class down then, Jeremy?
Let me talk to my class president or representative first.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Do we have anyone online? No?
Okay.
Okey-dokey pokies. Consent agenda, appointments, resignations, retirements, and approval of the minutes of 12/3/25. Katie?
We do not have any appointments. We have one resignation at the end of the year, which is Crystal Brown in HACTC Health Science. And again, that will be at the end of the year. And we have 2 retirements at the end of the year. We have Julie Arnold, who is the speech-language pathologist at the RRC. And many of you may have heard by now that Mr. Nelson Fogg just announced his retirement as Hartford High School's principal, which, of course, will have a big impact on the community. So that is the other retirement at the end of this year.
We wish Nelson a lot of fun in his retirement. And we do appreciate all the years that Nelson has put in working for our school district, because I'm not quite sure. Do you know how many years?
37
30.
in the district.
Say that he was there 34 years ago.
37 years. Wow, that's a long time. Thanks, Nelson. We do appreciate you. Are we going to have a need for the second?
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I need a motion for your consent.
Motion to
Oh,
approve
sorry.
the consent agenda, appointments, resignations, and meeting minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passed. Sorry, I'm puzzled by 37 years in one school district. Are we going to need the proposed executive session?
If it would please the board, given our current time tonight, how about I send you an email with some context information, and then I'll ask you a question later.
That would be great.
That would be wonderful. We appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Do we have any other business?
Nope. Next
Nope.
board meeting is January 7th, 2026.
Last one for the year, for this calendar year, anyway. Do I have a motion to, oh, no, we need to,
Meeting evaluation.
I'm sorry, say again. The meeting, yes. You gonna do it?
Yep.
Okay,
Going out the
thanks.
Board meeting monitoring. The board was prepared for the meeting. Satisfactory. Board's time was spent on ends, not means. Satisfactory. Each board member was given opportunity to participate. Satisfactory. Board treated all persons with courtesy and fairness. Satisfactory. Board adhered to Robert's Rules of Order. Satisfactory. Board adhered to its adopted governance style. It emphasized outward vision. It encouraged diversity in viewpoints. It exercised strategic leadership, not administrative detail. It maintained distinction between board and staff roles. It used collective decision-making, and it looked to the future. Satisfactory.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
It doesn't need a second.
Does not need a second. Thank you all very much. Long meeting.